Hello and welcome to Views from the Sideline. It is May 29th, 2018. Back in the studio. Consistency is key around here. We are back, Liz. It's like fourth straight week of consistent shows, Joe.
Yeah, I'm a little scared. We're getting too organized.
We're getting too organized around here. That's right. I'm Chris Pappas. That's Joey Tysick. And our third co-host, Malik Hill, is here with us. Malik, what's going on?
Another year of the same finals.
Part four, baby.
Part 4.
Usually trilogies are enough.
Exactly.
But
who really wanted this fourth?
No one.
I
I thought it was
I did.
finalized
Who wanted
last
this
year.
fourth?
3 was great. I think 3 was great. One each got one, and then
Last year
the
was
Warriors,
trash.
the Warriors
pushing
finished it off. That was nice.
This is going to be like the Rocky movies in a minute.
But it was probably nice that I got to watch.
4 was good. Once you get to 5, oh no.
When
It's
we
going
get
to be
5,
really bad.
I
I'm
saw
like,
the
stop.
Warriors win a championship on my cruise last year. That was kind of exciting.
You going back for a cruise?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
You know, I mean, I would like to, but nah,
I
not
got
right
you.
now.
All right, so on today's show, we're going to talk about the Pistons actually making their first big hire in their front office search and their coaching search. So we'll touch on that, as well as who may be their next coach and some players that they've worked out leading up into their 42nd pick in the 2018 NBA draft. We'll break down Cavs Celtics, Warriors Rockets, and part 4 of Cavs Warriors. And just dissect if this really is LeBron's greatest accomplishment, bringing this Cavalier team to the NBA Finals. So let's jump right into it. I want to lead off with some Pistons here, switching a little gears. Usually we lead off with the playoffs. We're going to start with the Pistons. Their first big hire was hiring Ed Stefanski, a former executive of the Memphis Grizzlies. He's been hired as a senior advisor to the Pistons, and he's in charge of leading the front office overhaul and hiring a new coach. Joey, I want to lead off with you because we kind of hampered on Goris last week on the show saying this is taking forever. He seems clueless. So now we hired a guy that knows the game and knows the front offices around the league to kind of make these decisions for him. Was it a good move?
Oh yeah, definitely. It proved that he was clueless. He didn't know what he wanted to do, so he had to hire an advisor to help him out get things done. But I'm glad that it happened because we need to get things done. And it sounds like Stefanski's ready to move in and just put into work. He's already been talking about potential coaches and things like that. So I already see things moving along much better than they were for these past 3 weeks of being this dead period or whatever you want to even call it. So I think this move was good. I think he knows the game. He knows kind of what he's looking at, who's out there, and a lot of similar names to people that we've thrown out. So I like it so far. Just talk to Chauncey, please.
Yeah. This is right now. Today is day 48 since the end of the regular season. Day 22 since the firing of Stan Van Gundy, and we just now got the hiring of Ed Stefanski as a senior advisor. Malik, what's your take of this as well? What's your take of the hire? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Who do you want to see kind of be hired into this front office?
I mean, I'd mostly agree with Joey on this one. It's good that they finally made a move. They finally got something done, but I'm not the most excited for this move. It doesn't
push the needle.
Yeah, I don't see this pushing anything in the right direction anytime soon.
It's not like a main position in the front office, but it definitely helps get the ball rolling, hopefully.
Exactly. It for me, it depends on the next 2 or 3 moves they make.
Yeah.
From front office to coach to players in the offseason. This was the first step. They got something done, which is good, but they got to keep moving for me to be impressed in any way.
Yeah, definitely. And my understanding from this hire as well is Ed's going to be kind of that leadership to a younger executive who the Pistons hope to bring in as the new GM, and Stefanski's going to be the guy kind of molding them the first 3 years of their executive career, and then maybe Ed steps aside, and then the new GM gets the title of president of basketball operations. That's kind of my inclination here. But yeah, I think it's a good move. We knew Gorse was clueless, so he at least wasn't clueless in hiring somebody to make the decision. Happy with that. And to kind of move down the list here, for their GM search, their dream scenario was Shane Battier, an analytics guy for the Miami Heat. He got a couple interviews. And right before we started the show today, breaking news from ESPN Zach Lowe, Shane Battier has now withdrawn from consideration to be the GM of the Detroit Pistons. there was a lot of question if Battier wanted to commit so many hours and so much of his retired career to rebuilding this team, or would he rather stay with his family? He chose his family. It's the right decision. The guy's put in 15 years.
I don't blame him.
I don't blame him at all. It was going to be a tough job, 90 hours a week, potentially, for a GM. Would you have wanted to see Shane Battier as the lead GM for this Pistons team? It would have been a homecoming of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have minded it. We all know he's not my top choice. But
we know your top choice.
But, I mean, yeah, I like guys that have been in the league. I think that's a way that a lot of teams are starting to bring or build their front offices, are using guys that have been players in the past and that know the game, know the players. Because it seems like players relate to that a lot better, and they accept that a little bit more.
And respect the opinion.
Right, whereas a lot of the times you get these guys that are, the players are really shady of the front office things, and they feel a little bit of separation. So I think that when you bring in older NBA players into the front office, it makes it a little bit more comfortable for the players to maybe approach the front office if they have any concerns or anything at all. So I wouldn't have minded the move, but obviously he's not going to do it.
Yeah, and one thing that I thought was interesting with Shane Battier, opposed to other candidates, was he's a former player, so he knows the game and he knows analytics aren't everything. But he also dove into analytics, and that was one of his prime roles in Miami's front office, is to kind of give the analytics version. So to have kind of both sides, both views of basketball, I thought would have been a really cool thing.
And you saw that's how the Rockets formed their team this year. It's all on analytics.
All on analytics. So I think it would have been a nice kind of give and go kind of dynamic to the front office leadership. Malik, would you have wanted to see Shane Battier as the head of operations here in Detroit?
Seeing Shane Battier as head of operations here, I think it would have been a good move. Like you said, the hometown factor. I think people would have been pretty happy to see him come here. I think he could have made some good decisions, but fortunately didn't want the job. So
yep, and
gotta keep it rolling.
Got to keep it rolling. Another candidate, another guy that's gotten a couple interviews for the Pistons is vice president of the Brooklyn Nets, Trajan Langdon. Not much known about this guy. He is more of an analytics person as well, but he seems to be going up the list for the Pistons as a name to watch. He's gotten a couple interviews. They've said that Chauncey Billups is set to get an interview.
You better. Just interview him.
Just
That's
interview.
all I ask. That's all I ask.
It hasn't been leaked to the media yet, though. So we'll see. A bunch of names out there still. But with Battier leaving, definitely a bigger blow to the Pistons' search. But another name I want to bring up, too. We know kind of who's going to be in the running for president. Is Tayshaun Prince someone we should look at?
Yes.
Is he
I like it.
You like Tayshaun?
Mm-hmm. He's now had experience. He worked in the Memphis front office.
He has that connection with Ed?
Right. He spent a lot of time doing things. And, I mean, he's proven over the years that he's a very smart player. He wasn't the most skilled player in the league, but he used every tool that he had in his repertoire of defense and jump shots, and he learned how to play to his abilities the best that he could. And I think that's important, especially for things like player development and stuff, to see things in players that maybe other guys don't see. And I think that Tayshaun, he would be a smart choice again. He's starting to get experience. He has the relatability. People like that around here.
He's that former player too for, like you said, with Shane Battier. He kind of brings that respectability to the front office.
Yeah, I think he would be good to bring in.
Malik, Tayshaun, you in or you out?
I actually didn't know he worked in the front office at Memphis. So now that I know that would be a pretty good move. The fans, I think, everybody would be excited to see him come back.
Yeah, definitely.
Although the Palace is gone, so that's he can't be the Palace Prince anymore.
He's always the Palace Prince.
So, I mean,
he's always the Palace Prince, Joe.
They find another corny nickname that probably wouldn't work, but I'm sure they come up with something.
The Pizza Prince?
Oh, no.
No. Put that on a T-shirt, Joe. Oh, man. So the Pizza Prince is...
the Prince of Pizza.
Pizza Prince.
Okay.
All right.
I vote no for both.
I mean, me too, yeah. No, I don't want either one.
All right. Well, okay, we'll just move on. And then the coaching candidates. I think there's one candidate and one candidate only I think Dwayne Casey is destined to be the next head coach for the Detroit Pistons. I mean, Ed Stefanski was the guy that hired him in Toronto at the time, so he already has that connection. The only other opening in the NBA coaching-wise is Orlando. He's not going to Orlando.
Why not?
First of all, they've had their coaching search going on for a couple months now. They haven't interviewed Dwayne Casey. They haven't shown interest in Casey. If they haven't done that yet, I don't think they would. And I don't think Casey would want to go to a rebuild.
What top level coach wants to step into that mess?
He's basically going
to
a rebuild.
But the Pistons basically he's not, though, because the Pistons don't want to rebuild. They want to retool and push again for the playoffs.
Which is what Dwayne Casey has been doing for the past 5 or 6 years.
And
just retooling.
And he gets a roster that's not terrible. I mean, you get a stud in Blake Griffin. Andre Drummond's still a stud. Then beyond that, there's pieces you got to move, and there's stuff that you got to figure out. But you have young guys like Luke Kennard, Stanley Johnson, Reggie Bullock, though. Reggie Bullock, he is a good piece to look at. I think it's Casey's job. I think by next week, we'll be talking about Dwayne Casey as the next head coach of the Detroit Pistons.
I mean, I would like it. I don't know.
Do you have any other candidates out there that you would want to see?
No, not really.
Are you a Becky Hammon person?
No, I'm not against her being a head coach. I feel like, I don't know, did we talk about this before or just off?
It's possible. Maybe
camera?
off air.
I think we just brought up the fact that she was interviewed by Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like for her, the Pistons are not the right place for her to start her career.
I agree.
I think she needs to start in a safer team. Like the Pistons could blow up potentially. That's the only thing I'm a little bit nervous about. So I don't think that it would be a good look for her, especially to be the first female head coach in the NBA.
It's a lot of pressure.
Right, exactly. And I think that this Detroit job is very tough. And that's not to say that she couldn't do it, but if it fails, that's a lot of scrutiny, and then maybe she loses her chance to be a head coach again. I don't know. But I feel like she should just hang on. I think we talked about it, that she should just hang on to being the Spurs assistant until Pop is ready to leave.
Oh, yeah, we did talk about this, yeah.
And that she would be able to take over the Spurs, potentially. But I think that would be a much better job because I'm sure Pop will put her in a good place when he decides to leave, if that's how he wants to do it, that she would be ready to go.
And especially a lot of his assistants are leaving, getting interviews. Ettore Messina, one of his lead assistants, he interviewed for the Toronto job. Ime Udoka did as well, and the Pistons are said to be interested in Udoka as a potential coaching candidate if Casey probably doesn't want the job. What's another name that you guys would want to see the Pistons go after outside of Casey, outside of Udoka because I brought him up, and Becky Hammon? What's a coaching name that you guys would like to see the Pistons go after?
Well, we've talked about it. Jerry Stackhouse. The more that we talked about it, I think that's a good move. I don't think it's going to happen.
See, I'm less on Jerry Stackhouse now as time goes on because he is a younger coach, and I think he would go through a lot more turmoil within his first few years, especially if the Pistons are just going to retool and not rebuild.
Right.
I just don't think it's the perfect
No,
match.
I agree. I think and especially too, I think if we have a younger GM or a less experienced GM, that we need a veteran somewhere, somebody at least on the court that can handle those guys that has been there before, somebody like Casey. But I'm just saying, if we throw out other names, Stackhouse would be one.
What about Frank Vogel?
No, I don't know. I don't know about Frank Vogel.
I don't mind that. I think.
Wait, I want to get your take on this, Malik, though. Why not Vogel? I understand. Yeah, he had a rough time in Orlando, but he did have some good years in Indiana.
He did have some good years in Indiana, but I don't think he's a better fit than Dwayne Casey. I really didn't put that much thought into Dwayne Casey until I realized that they were making a push for him being the number one option.
Yeah.
And the more I see his ability to retool, keeping his main players, but
he's good at developing players.
Yeah,
as
reshuffling
well.
his bench, developing your players off the bench, which would be huge for Stanley Johnson and a starting two guard as Luke Kennard.
Yeah.
And I think at this point they shouldn't have their eyes on anybody else. They should be on Dwayne Casey.
I agree with that. But yeah, before I cut you off, Joe, was there any other names you want to bring up? No?
Mm-hmm. No. There's only like the weird like flyers, like people are talking about like Rasheed Wallace and Ben Wallace.
No one's talked about Rasheed Wallace as a head coach.
I've heard people. No, like
how much coaching experience does he have?
Like
he was an assistant coach.
I remember he was the assistant for, but besides that,
I mean like little things like that.
That would be hilarious. I've had a friend tell me that he wants Kevin Garnett to get consideration.
Wasn't there somebody? Man, somebody was talking about too, like Ben Wallace being a part of player development or something.
No, Ben Wallace. Well, what happened is he is part owner now of the Grand Rapids Drive.
Oh right.
So I'm not sure. I mean, he's the player. That's the player development team for the Pistons. So maybe that's what you're thinking of. But yeah, Ben Wallace. On other news, he's a part owner of the Grand Rapids Drive. So that's interesting. But yeah, the belief is the Pistons will make these hires by the end of this week. So we might get finally an end result and kind of move forward into the draft, into free agency, and what they might do personnel-wise. So that'd be actually fun to talk about actually players. Let's get to the real things. Cavs, Warriors, part 4. Cavs, Celtics go 7. Rockets, Warriors go 7 for the first time since 1979. We have 2 Game 7s in the conference finals.
Before the 3-point line.
That's right. Before the 3-point line. The first time in the 3-point line era.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could have seen these series without the 3-point line because
you don't wish that.
God.
Don't wish that on yourself.
No, that would have been bad.
I never want to see 27 straight missed threes again in my life.
That's true too. That's true too. They were some rough shots.
It'll only get worse. That's all I'm saying.
Wait till they had the 4-point line in a couple of years, guys. No, but
when they make the court bigger.
I don't think they'd ever make the court bigger. I think they would just add that 4-point line.
But there's no room in the corner.
They're not gonna. I don't think it would be in the corner. I think they would just make a line up.
Oh, at the top.
At the top.
Okay.
That's what I think. I've seen pictures of like the Atlanta Hawks putting a 4-point line in their practice court, and it was like an extra like 5 feet behind the 3-point line, and they don't go to the corner. It ends around the arc. So I was like, please don't. Please don't let that happen. Yeah, it did look goofy.
Sounds like Harlem Globetrotter stuff.
Yeah. Remember the Globetrotters got like that 4-point spot or whatever it is. Yeah. Let's touch on Cavs Celtics first. I think where we left off last week was it a 2-2 tie or was it 3-2? Yeah, I think it was a 2-2 tie. We left off last week. Boston goes up 3-2 after their decisive Game 5 win. In that spot, when the Celtics are up 3-2, do you guys think the Cavs are going down and they're down for the count in this series?
No, because we said it last week that Game 6 was crucial, and it depended on...
You did say that, Game 6.
It depended on what happened in Game 6. The Celtics needed to finish in Game 6, and they didn't do it.
Called that, Joe.
And that's what happened.
Joe, you're making a lot of good calls as of late. I mean, I got to give it up to you.
I mean...
You said the series would be decided in Game 6. You were right.
And I don't know. It was rough. That was... I know you guys disagree, but I thought Game 7 was pretty boring. I know there was some top highlights in there, but just a lot of like LeBron turned the ball over a lot, and there was just a lot of missed shots.
The dude's tired. He played 48 minutes in both games, Game 6 and 7.
Okay.
Just saying, he was tired.
Come on, man. Stop.
What?
Stop giving people
I'm not giving
excuses.
that excuse to LeBron James.
Stop
I'm giving an excuse to LeBron.
LeBron gets no excuses.
I'm not saying it just because it's LeBron. I'm just saying people in general. Like, I'm tired of this tiredness thing.
You're an NBA player. Man, you're supposed to be at your top.
He's been to the finals
level of
8
stamina.
straight years. This dude's
turnovers are usually a mental thing though too.
He's been to the finals 8 straight years.
He's mentally tired.
He averaged 28 and 8 this year. Don't stop. I mean, stop it.
There was just so many missed threes. Like the Celtics shot terribly. They seemed to give up towards the end of the game. I don't know.
Well, the Celtics gave up at the end because I think it was Kyle Korver at a couple late threes. But to me, Game 7 was the most exciting game of this postseason. And here's the reason why for me.
Whoa.
There was a lot of storylines going into this one. LeBron's legacy, what he could do, or if he could bring this team to get to the NBA Finals. And that was a huge storyline. It started off slow for them. The Celtics were up big early. The crowd was going insane. That atmosphere in Boston was awesome. And just as a fan watching it, you love to see the atmosphere at another level. In the second half, it got close. LeBron started to take over, and there were those highlight plays. Terry Rozier trying to poster LeBron. LeBron meeting him at the rim and blocking him. Then Jason Tatum. Their Celtics are down 5. Jason Tatum posterizes LeBron James, and he actually posterized him. It wasn't LeBron kind of ducking out of the way. No, LeBron went for the block. He didn't get it. Tatum put him on a poster.
No, I agree.
There was emotion to it, and then the following possession, Tatum hits a sidestep 3. Celtics go up 1. The crowd's going insane, and then to see LeBron calm everything down, kind of drag out the clock, and win on his terms. To me, it was just two teams gutting it out, and the better player won that game.
Terry Rozier was also 0 of 10 from the 3-point line.
What does that have to do with anything?
What does that have to do with anything?
No, I'm talking about the excitement of the game.
Terry Rozier, I think, was like the key player in this series, and
I agree with that.
Obviously, for him to be expected to come up big in Game 7 is a lot, but I don't
think it is a lot though with how he's played this postseason.
Right, that's what I mean. Like I think he just needed to play he didn't even need to play at his best.
That's all he
needed to play somewhat good, and he
succumbed to the pressure.
He didn't look good.
Hit 2 or 3 threes.
And Marcus Smart is somewhat of a liability on offense. Yeah. So,
but he gives you that grind and that hustle.
Right, but then even at times when they had to play Marcus Smart and Terry Rozier at the same time, that is really small basketball.
I will say this though, Marcus did play well in Game 7. I don't think I can't take anything away from him. He created plays. He had a couple lobs to Al Horford and Aaron Baines.
His effort can't be matched.
His effort can't be matched. I mean, there's a couple possessions in the fourth quarter where the Cavs just get the board and then Marcus sneaks in there, gets a steal, and gets a layup. I mean, yes, there are questions about Marcus Smart's ability on the offensive side of the floor, but when he's hustling like he is and making plays for his teammates, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with his threes on occasion. Malik, what's your take from this series?
As a whole, I did not enjoy watching this.
I mean, this series was a very we only had one close game.
And Jaylen Brown was terrible in that game too.
Yeah, but Game 7 was the only close one. So in general, it was a terrible series.
Teams getting blown out every time they went to another arena. LeBron was great, but besides that, he was the one thing to watch on his team. Really,
it was the most lopsided 7-game series I've seen in a long time.
I can't put into words what that series was. Honestly,
it was weird.
Yeah,
it was just weird.
I didn't enjoy it.
Okay,
I know me and you both picked Boston to come out.
It made sense.
The
Cleveland couldn't come back.
I know. Down 3-2, but they came back. What were you going to say,
scripting, but
just looking at these stats. Okay, Cleveland 9 of 35 from the 3-point line, 25%. Terrible. What's even worse?
This is Game 7.
Boston 7 of 39 for 18%. Final score 87-79, and you call that exciting?
Yeah, it's grinded out basketball.
This 87
Didn't you like the going to work Pistons?
Yeah, this is not them. These are not two.
I know, but
these are not two defensive oriented teams. These are offensive teams.
Yes, but they didn't have the offense. It was late in the series, late in the season. They didn't have their legs, so they had to grind out
Everybody
this game.
is late in the season.
Not the 26 other teams.
The Warriors obviously aren't having issues.
Not the 26 other teams sitting at home.
With scoring the basketball.
Well, they had a lot of help from
they're tired too.
They had help from the Zebras last night.
I don't believe that.
You don't think that had
shooting?
Help from the refs?
No.
I mean,
the Zebras do not help at shooting.
What do you mean? James Harden?
No. But here's the thing. But also, when you can't touch a player, if they're getting all the whistles, they're going to the line. They're building a rhythm.
Okay, well then James Harden would have fouled out in 2 minutes.
What do you mean?
He's always touching players. He's always pushing off.
He does.
Very solid point from Joe.
Very solid point from Joe.
I'm just saying, okay, you can have your excitement. I'm just trying to point out that it was not exciting for me. These aren't two defensive-minded teams. They're more offensive powered. And to have 87-79 as your final score and percentages like that from the 3-point line, and Boston shot 35% for the field. Like, that's just rough.
I don't think it was the most exciting, but it was the most interesting.
And obviously,
seeing J.R. Smith hit 3 threes in Boston, seeing the score at like 62-62 going into the fourth, it was
kind of a blast from the past.
It was something I didn't expect, which was what I didn't expect.
Yeah. I don't know. Just it wasn't for me.
Any other stats to pull out there, Joe?
No, just the game wasn't for me.
Everybody has their opinions. That game was definitely for me. But moving on to the other series on the other side of things in the West.
Boy.
Rockets up 3-2.
It only got worse.
Poor Chris Paul.
When I saw that injury happen, I thought it was over. The Warriors were winning that series. Without Chris Paul,
Poor Chris Paul.
The Rockets couldn't get it done. They didn't have that second star to kind of take the pressure off James Harden. Where in Game 5, Joe, Malik, you guys saw this. Chris Paul was the one that won that game, hitting those crazy shots. and kind of taking the pressure off James when James would go through his cold shooting. I'm disappointed because
we didn't get to see those two great games that we really could have gotten.
And yes, definitely. With Chris Paul out, I hate to see injuries decide a series, but the injuries decided this one.
Yes.
They truly did.
I don't know. I thought about this a lot, and it's hard to say. Like, that's always really tough because you think about the Celtics, and I feel like they had more of a case of saying that injuries really hurt their team more than the Rockets.
Who the Celtics, you said?
Yeah. Not having Kyrie.
Yeah, but
to finish games.
They played the whole postseason without him.
Right.
So when Chris Paul goes down suddenly in Game 5 of the conference finals, that's going to play a bigger role.
But Golden State also blew them out with Chris Paul on the floor. So
there's always going to be a blowout in the playoff series.
But I'm just saying, like,
so
it's hard to say.
Houston had all the momentum going
because
at that point.
I think the thing that hurts them the most, obviously, about Chris Paul not being there is the closing out of games. I think he's their better clutch performer. I think he's proved it throughout his career. But, man, I don't know. Like, if he was in that Game 7, you can say, okay, they lost by 9. What did they lose by 9? That, oh, yeah, Chris Paul could have scored 9 and they would have won. Well, that's not really how it goes.
All right, I'm going to put you on the spot here, Joe.
I'm ready.
If Chris Paul is playing, he doesn't get hurt, the hammy doesn't get pulled, he's healthy. Warriors still coming out of the West? Down 3-2. They still got to win. And keep in mind, they were down 10 in Golden State.
Did they win that game in Golden State before Chris Paul got hurt?
What was it? Game 4? Game 4. They won Game 4.
When it went to 3-2, did they win that game in?
Game
Golden
5
State?
was in Houston, and then they went to Game 6 in Golden State. And Houston was up 10 in Game 6 before the Warriors' third quarters rolled around.
Houston had every bit of momentum.
I think the biggest problem with the Rockets, and
you still didn't answer the question.
I know. I'm thinking about it through talking.
Okay.
That, the biggest problem about the Rockets is their depth is an issue. So even having Chris Paul, they need other guys to step up.
But without Chris Paul, their depth is even more of an issue.
Exactly. I know. But I don't think that Chris Paul maybe changed the landscape. Because, like, in Game 7, Trevor Ariza was 0 for 12. Yep. I think 0 for 9 from the three-point line.
0 for 12 from 3.
It was 12?
I think so. That's what I thought I saw.
What do you mean by the depth being an issue?
Because they only played
Houston was
about
only like
6 to 7 players.
I think
every night.
I think Golden State's rotation was only 7 players, especially with Iguodala out.
They had Jordan Bell, Sean Livingston,
because they wouldn't play JaVale McGee, which confused me.
I guess they didn't play. They only played Patrick McCaw towards the end.
They never played Zaza Pachulia.
I'd say they played 8-man rotation because they played Sean Livingston, Jordan Bell, and
Kevon Looney.
Looney started though.
Oh, did he?
Who was the third? They played Swaggy P.
Yeah,
they did play Nick Young in spots, yeah.
But, like, especially in this series, the Rockets can't even play Ryan Anderson.
He got toasted.
Yeah,
and
complete liability.
I mean, back to the thing about Trevor Ariza is that I don't think Trevor Ariza is going to hoist that many shots if Chris Paul's on the floor. So you kind of like equal those out. Man, it's so hard. I don't think they would have if Chris Paul was there. He gives them that grit though with his coaching ability, which I thought would have used it on the sideline. I think the biggest problem is James Harden.
His shot selection is so bad if he's not driving to the rim.
He shot, what was the stat? 7 of 45 from 3 for the series?
There was something like that,
which is
crazy.
Insane.
Most of his threes are contested.
Yeah.
For some reason.
And he just kind of throws a lot of them up. But okay.
That's my other problem with this
series. Here's my little word association segment because I
brought it fast.
Because I thought about it.
Did you even answer the question?
Warriors would have won.
Okay.
Warriors would have won. I just had a feeling. So this is why the Rockets lost. So we're gonna put these players together, and you're gonna figure out what they all have in common, and this is the reason they lost. Chris Paul, Trevor Ariza, Eric Gordon, Ryan Anderson. What do these guys have in common? Besides that, they play for the same team right now.
But
what do these guys?
But
have
Chris
in
Paul,
common?
does this have anything to do with him missing the last 2 games?
Chris Paul, Ryan Anderson, Trevor Ariza, and who?
They all didn't make
Eric
a 3.
Gordon.
They all play for the Hornets.
Thank you, Malik.
Oh dang!
They all play for the Hornets.
What is
And
that?
the Hornets are one of my old-time favorite teams.
Yeah, you're transitioned into a Pelicans guy.
Yeah, well, New Orleans Hornets.
I know, you're a New
into
Orleans guy at heart.
Pelicans, and they just can't get it done. And it's that old Hornets team, basically.
You know who did
Which I
get it
think-
done as an old Hornet?
I think
David
Eric Gordon,
West.
Eric Gordon didn't play on that team,
Eric Gordon was mostly.
Eric
hurt
Gordon was
in
part of
New
the
Orleans.
trade. to
Yeah,
get Chris
he played
Paul
after.
Out. Yeah.
but so it's like adding,
So your
like
association
the
was
best
wrong.
Hornets team with James Harden. That's why they didn't get it done.
That's the reason.
I don't care for that word association, Joe. I'll be quite honest with you.
That reasoning is ambitious, to say the least.
Hey,
It
sometimes-
was quite the reach.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to delve deep.
My only issue with that is,
Blame New Orleans when it all comes down. Okay.
oh man. Before we get into kind of the matchup between Warriors Cavs, because I mean, there's not too much to break down. We've seen this 3 years in a row now. I mean, there are some personnel changes, but maybe for the worse. LeBron beating the Celtics, dragging the corpse of the Cleveland Cavaliers through the Eastern Conference to the NBA Finals.
I'm not gonna say the corpse. That's a bit much. At home, they blew teams out all throughout the playoffs at home. But away,
Dragging
they play
the
like
corpse,
a different team.
Dragging the
If you blow,
corpse of
if
the
you can,
Cleveland Cavaliers.
if you have the ability to blow teams out, you're not a corpse. Average team.
We will let opinions
Average
be
team.
opinions, but LeBron dragging this Cavalier team to the NBA Finals, is this one of his greatest accomplishments?
I think this is a great accomplishment, but not his greatest.
What do you think is his greatest, coming back from down 3-1?
Yeah.
I mean, I think
That's what I think.
I think taking the Cavs team to that first finals he got to when he came to Detroit and just completely broke up that Pistons team. I think that might be his greatest still, in my opinion.
Oh, in the 2007 Eastern Conference Finals?
What he did to that
That's
quality
good.
Pistons team.
That's a very good point there. And I mean, that Cavalier team wasn't good, but I'd still say they were better than this Cavalier team now. Larry Hughes was not something to laugh
Larry
about.
Hughes was decent. Mo
Anderson
Williams
Barrett-
was a one-time All-Star. Zadrunas Algaskis was
They weren't
quality.
dysfunctional. That team was not dysfunctional. They knew how to play.
yeah.
I will take that Cleveland team over this current
That team
Cleveland
wasn't
team.
dysfunctional, but
I'm
it was
saying-
LeBron,
I think
LeBron
take-
was the only reason.
Take
they,
LeBron apart.
I think
from both-
technically, though, the team that he has right now is deeper.
yeah, it's deeper because
True.
you have
They
a guy
had-
like Rodney
true.
Hood on the
They
bench.
had guys
but-
like Daniel Gibson.
Wally
and-
Zerbiak.
hey, don't you hate on Booby Gibson?
Sasha
right?
Pavlovich.
He was a great shooter.
Shouts out to Sasha Pavlovich
I miss Sasha.
and Anthony Parker.
Shout out to Candace, my girl.
Joey, no sweet talking on the show.
Anyway, she's married, you know. She's got a life. But I think this Cavs team is deeper than that team.
So you don't think this is that
Was
great
Eric
of an
Snow
accomplishment?
still on that team?
Yeah, he was.
Ugh.
Was he?
He was.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he was starting.
This,
So
is, this is still a great accomplishment. This is top 5
You think
in
it-
LeBron's career for me.
to me, this is number. Now that you bring up the conference final, I'll say number 3 because
It's up there.
I also think
I think that dismantling the Pistons in 2007
Yeah.
is a huge thing, especially because he had to go through a couple years of
that might
losing
be
to
number
them.
1 for me.
We're about to be haunted by that, too, because Nike's coming out with those
Oh, just-
Soldier ones or whatever to commemorate that game.
I mean, he deserves it. I
I might
gotta
wear
give it to
I
him.
might wear Adidas for a week straight.
I'm not going to buy those shoes, I'll tell you
No.
that much.
I also think him overcoming 2010 and winning a championship the next year was a great accomplishment.
I think it was a good
How
accomplishment.
small he came up in those finals. That was one of the worst fall offs ever.
I
For him to come back,
no, yeah, I
even though it was a really great team he was on, for him to come back from that failure was very impressive.
yeah, I agree with that. To me, I'll rank the coming back from down 3-1 against the defending champions as number 1. LeBron James.
Oh, yeah,
accomplishment.
that's ahead
That'll
of
be
this.
number 1.
Yeah.
That'll be number 1 for me.
I think 2 has to be the Pistons.
Number 2 is the
Getting to that
2007.
finals,
Yep.
yeah.
Even though they got swept, getting through the Pistons was huge. And then number 3, it's this year. It's just another kind of notch on King James' belt. Another thing to look at when you're going to dissect him as one of the all-time greats, if maybe the all-time great in the NBA's history. Let's see here.
Let me
Before we move on, do either of you question? I know I do. Well, I don't know if I got your take on this. Do you guys question the officiating in Game 7, Houston, Golden State?
No, not really.
No,
You're fine with
I felt
it?
like it was pretty.
Even?
It was like how it was for most of the series, I think.
At times, I felt like it got kind of tense
Yeah.
between Houston and the refs, but that happens in the playoffs all the time. Especially Mark D'Antoni. He was.
Yeah, Mark was heated.
Really,
he was
yeah.
heated. All right, let's get into Cavs Warriors Part 4. Let's dissect this thing out here.
Can I pose a question
part
real
4.
quick beforehand?
Yeah, of course. Go for it.
Okay, so when we saw the Cavs win in Game 7, did you guys still want the Rockets to win?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't want to see Golden State.
Because I was against it. Like as soon as the Cavs won, I wanted to see Golden State.
Really?
Because I don't trust Houston to beat the Cavs in 7.
I just wanted a competitive series.
It would have been more interesting to see.
It would have been more interesting and more
Yeah.
competitive.
No, I can agree with that. And I mean, if the Celtics won, I wanted the Rockets. I
Yeah.
wanted
I wanted
completely
Celtics
new
Rockets.
slate.
Yeah.
New slate.
And we were so close to getting that, too.
But as soon as the Cavs won, I was like, all right, I need the Warriors because I don't want to see Cleveland win another championship.
That kind of brings me to my next question. Do the Cavs have any chance of winning the series now?
Well, they have a chance because this is conspiracy stuff, but it looks like it's been kind of some WWE scripting going on in the NBA.
What are you saying? You said the officiating had nothing to do with
Listen.
anything, and now you're saying it's scripted?
LeBron is going to pull out at least 2 games because
You're saying this game goes sick? This
LeBron
series goes
LeBron
six?
is going to pull out at least 2 games.
I don't know about that, man.
You doubt that?
You want to know my genuine opinion of the series?
You're thinking brooms?
I got Warriors in 4, 1 game close.
I'll be surprised. I would be very surprised.
I'll say Game 3 is a single-digit win for the Warriors, but I got Warriors in 4.
It seems like this is the year of LeBron at this point.
I don't know, man. He's going against
Him not pulling out 2 would be a surprise to me. If they got swept, that would be a huge surprise.
He's going up against 2-time MVP Steph Curry, 1-time MVP Kevin Durant, a stud all-star. He's not just a borderline all-star. Klay Thompson is a stud of a player. He's maybe his top 3 shooting guard in the NBA. Then Draymond Green, he has his issues, but he's a defensive powerhouse.
Yeah.
He is. And then there's questions. Kevon Looney, yeah, but once they get Andre Iguodala back, who might be back for Game 1, might be back Game 3, they don't really know. But you get that death lineup of Curry, Klay, Iguodala, Durant, and then Draymond at the 5. Tell me how this Cleveland team matches up with that. They can't.
Yeah.
I feel very weird about Kevin Durant right now.
What do you mean?
Because I don't know what was wrong with him in the last series. His shot selection, he would take at least like 7 or 8 contested threes, like hand in the face. He would just pull a 3 at least like 2 or 3 times a quarter. And I don't understand why he was doing that.
I mean, last night it worked.
Yeah, last night
He was on fire last night.
He was. The first few games of the Golden State-Houston series, he was just playing like regular Kevin Durant. But it seemed like something clicked. His shot selection just got so much worse. I don't know what it was.
I think they did a better job, the Warriors coaching staff did, of getting Kevin Durant the ball in the mid-post. That's where he thrives, especially in late-game situations, and that's what they did in Game 7. They gave KD the ball, left block, right block, let him go to work on the switch, which usually was Eric Gordon. He can just shoot right over the top of him.
Yep.
And that's what they did.
And you got to think, too, going back to last year, it's going to be Kevin Durant versus LeBron James again, which that's the only excitement that I get out of this series is seeing the 2 best basketball players in the league right now going back and forth is really exciting. I really hope that they guard each other the majority of the time.
I don't think they will.
How they did last year.
I don't think they will, and the reason why is I think Cleveland's going to do all they can to mimic how Houston played defense against Golden State. Switch everything. Have a lineup that you can switch absolutely your center onto your point guard. I think Tristan can cover Steph in situations just like Capella did with Curry. That's how Cleveland has to play to get a couple games in this series. You have to be able to switch everything and create no breathing room. You can't go under on screens or go over on screens because if you go under, the roller is going to have a lane to the basket. You go or under, you know what I'm thinking. Under,
but then you get those times
screen.
where you get Ryan Anderson on Steph Curry, and then
Well,
Steph Curry is obviously the X factor, I think, in this series.
Well, if you're Cleveland, you got to make sure anybody that has somewhat a liability on defense, you can't play.
So they can't play any other players?
I mean, you got to pick and choose.
I mean, I don't know. Kyle Korver has looked
He's looked good
decent
defensively
on
this year, so
defense.
that's the guy you kind of I'd be fine with playing.
But when you have a team like the Warriors that played just as hard defense, it's hard to run up and down the
I
court.
think J.R. Smith is underrated defensively as well. I think he's actually a pretty solid defender.
But then the problem becomes that you have to be able to match Golden State also on offense. And if you have to play harder defense on them, it makes you tired, Chris's favorite word, on offense. So
let's switch it to fatigued.
It's going to be an uphill battle for sure. And I want to say that it's the Warriors are going to roll them. But I've been saying that all playoffs long, and LeBron's been proving me wrong. So, I mean...
Well, here's the thing, too.
He might steal one or two.
Another thing we have to bring up, too. Kevin Love's still in concussion protocol. He likely will not play Game 1.
Well, and even if he does, though, the Warriors are perfectly matched to guard Kevin Love.
I'm not sure if Kevin Love is maybe the best fit defensively to match up against this team. My perfect lineup for the Cavs probably would be George Hill, J.R. Smith, LeBron, Jeff Green, Tristan Thompson. Defensively, switching everything and having everybody be able to guard all their perimeter players. Because I think Kevin Love's a little too slow. Foot speed-wise. If he gets switched on to Steph, I'm worried. Steph's going to get a bucket. He's going to make him look like Ryan Anderson.
But then you're going to have the issue again of offense. Can Jeff Green keep up the offense that he's shown in Game 6 and 7 in the Celtics series?
And that's where I think Cleveland has to look hard and long at slowing the pace of this series down, dragging the shot clock out, playing stud defensively, switching everything, and then just going late into the shot clock almost every time down the floor. Work your offense, move players, have a little bit of emotion to it, but slow the pace down. The Warriors want to run.
But then again, that's the hard thing. The Warriors have been tested by everybody. The Rockets tried the same thing. That's why they brought in Chris Paul at times. No, I get what you're saying. Yeah. I'm just saying that the Warriors are tooled for so many different situations. And if for some reason, I don't think they will, but if the Cavs try to go big or something weird, like Malik said, the Warriors have JaVale McGee on the bench. They don't even have to play him.
And if they need it, they can just put Zaza out there to tear LeBron's ACL, and they're golden.
Right. He can just go in there, get his foul.
He knows how to purposely tear ACLs.
He can
Zaza is a hired gunman.
It's on his resume.
In, get some fouls, and then leave, and he's good.
And we saw they're not afraid to go to the hack of Capella, hack of whoever.
Tristan Thompson better be ready.
Hack of Tristan. Tristan's actually shot the ball pretty well from the free throw line.
I think he's improved a lot.
But I know Kerr's not afraid to do that in certain situations.
Right.
All right.
Because the Cavs should get swept. But things have been weird since the conference finals.
That leads me to my next question. Malik, what's your prediction for the finals?
I'm predicting a 4-2 win by Golden State. This will be like the first 2014 finals. I think LeBron and Delly, that great team.
LeBron and George Hill, the new LeBron and Delly.
He's going to figure out a way to pull out 2, but the Warriors will still win.
Who's your MVP?
My MVP is going to be Steph.
Joey?
Steph has hit his groove again.
4-1 Warriors. Man, I don't know how you can bet against KD though as the MVP. But I think Steph,
last year was KD's year.
I think Steph is the X factor in this series. He needs to keep up what he's been doing these last couple games in that Rockets series.
It's something about third quarters lately.
But that was
he just heats up in third.
But I think that was too in part to the Rockets coming out sluggish in second half.
Both times, Game 6 and 7.
So I think the Cavs will be a little more prepared for that. I think they have a little bit better of a rotation to fight with the Warriors a little bit, but I don't know. I don't know how you beat the Warriors.
So you got Warriors in 5. Who's your MVP?
I think it's still going to be Durant. Because I think that they're going to have times where it's going to be Durant versus LeBron.
Okay.
And he's going to have to prove himself again on offense and defense.
Yeah, I got the Warriors in 4. Like I said, I'm going to pick Klay Thompson as my MVP.
No. That's what I was thinking at first.
I'm going to pick Klay just because he's kind of that forgotten guy. I mean, we had Steph got MVP the first time, or no, it was Iguodala.
Yeah, it was Iguodala.
Then KD. It seems like MVPs come to players that play both sides of the floor.
Because Steph got the league MVP.
Klay plays both sides of the floor. And he's streaky, too. That dude, if he gets going,
but
you gotta watch out for him.
It'll be over in a heartbeat.
But I don't think he has a tough matchup. I think
that plays to his hand more.
Yeah, but I don't think. I think they'll be trying to use him more defensively. perhaps.
JR is completely out of the series. That Clay versus JR matchup, JR has nothing for Clay.
Kyle Korver might be my X factor for Cleveland.
He has to be.
He's
been their other most consistent player.
I would always say JR, but with
what about Jeff Green?
If Clay is guarding him,
Jeff Green has been playing pretty good.
I don't think he's an X factor. The Warriors have too many ways to stay with Jeff Green that he's not going to be able to really do anything.
If we could get the George Hill from Indiana, that would be interesting as well.
If we could get those guys, if we could get George Hill, Rodney Hood, from
Rodney
Hood
probably won't even play.
I don't have hope in Rodney anymore.
But I'm just saying, like, if those guys would have played to how they were playing early in the season, I think the Cavs would be in a little bit better of shape.
Anything else you guys want to touch on before we move on? Cavs Warriors Part 4.
Jason Tatum is coming. Next year might be his first All-Star appearance.
All right, Malik, I like that. So Jason Tatum's coming. Let's go 4 years down the road here. They're going to be heading into their 5th year. Who do you want on your team, Jason Tatum or Donovan Mitchell?
Jason Tatum.
Wow.
Jason Tatum's going to be better than Paul Pierce.
Donovan Mitchell you're the guy that compared Donovan Mitchell to Michael Jordan. And you're picking Jason Tatum as the better player in year 5.
Yes.
Can't make this stuff up, but
Donovan Mitchell has so much more of a load to carry. Jason Tatum just has to score. Donovan Mitchell has to carry that team. Although Ricky Rubio is a solid point guard.
No, but
Donovan has to carry that.
But Chris was posing
team.
the question of, if just as a team, if you're an organization, who would you want in the next 4 years?
If you get to pick one player, your team is from scratch. You're starting your team with one of those 2 players. Who do you pick?
Oh, man. I guess I'm just going to stick with my pick since I took Jason already.
All right. It's an interesting question to ask because this rookie class has been fantastic. I'm going to include Ben Simmons in this rookie class because he didn't play the first year. But you got Ben Simmons, who's going to be a future All-Star. Tatum, future All-Star. Donovan Mitchell, future All-Star.
Here's what I'll say. I see Donovan Mitchell staying at this level, but I see Jason Tatum going higher.
You see more.
Okay.
You see a higher ceiling.
I see Donovan Mitchell staying around the 22, 23 point per game. I see Jason Tatum getting up to like 26, 25, 26.
He's got that frame, not a Kevin Durant frame, but that body type, wiry, long arms,
very long.
He can get a basket. I don't know. I just see a lot of young KD and Jason Tatum. All right.
Anything by
you, Joe? Joe's just sitting here enjoying the conversation.
No, I was just thinking of all the rookies that we've talked about before, too. Kuzma, Alonzo Ball, Markkanen.
I see Kuzma staying where he's at, too.
Markkanen, I think he could.
Markkanen's going to be really, really, really good.
I think Luke Kennard, if he gets
solid
35 minutes a game, 35 minutes.
Luke can be a 17, 18 point per game. I
agree with you completely. I think he can definitely be a 17, 18 points per game. 40. He already was a 40% 3-point shooter.
Yeah. Just improve on defense a little bit.
He's got good footwork. Maybe work on finishing around the basket a little bit more. But he's got a good playmaking ability. He's got all the tools.
He does.
Except for some physical tools.
But
to be a solid player.
On.
Yeah. If he molds himself in the way of I'm going to do the cop out and go Manu Ginobili, but he kind of has that same play style as a Manu Ginobili. Sneaky scorer. Kind of uses the Euro step a little bit to get to the basket. He's not an elite finisher like Manu.
He creates shots for himself.
And he creates for others as well. He's not a selfish player. All right, let's transition. Since I think there's nothing else we really need to get into before Game 1, Thursday, 9 p.m., ABC, Part 4 NBA Finals. Let's touch some free agency rumbles. We're finally getting into the offseason a little bit. The New York Post reported today Michael Beasley is said to have 5 or more teams interested in his services next year. 2 of those teams is 1, the Phoenix Suns, and 2,
Michael back in Phoenix.
the Atlanta Hawks.
That sounds scary.
Do you think the Pistons would have any interest in adding Michael Beasley because they're slim at the 3 in the forward spots? Michael can create a basket for himself. Yeah, all the Beasley stuff. There's all that crazy hype that goes with Michael Beasley, but he can score the basketball.
They definitely need to go after him.
Yeah.
He's a much more mature player. He plays hard. and he still, like you said, he still knows how to get a bucket. I don't think you go wrong with Michael Beasley right now.
But here's the thing with Beasley.
I think you can go wrong, but
I mean, if you like try to make him a superstar, like everybody thought he was going to be.
I'm confused at where his chemistry would fit in with this team.
That's what I'm interested in.
Because we have a lot of
ball dominant players.
Yeah.
Reggie pounds the ball.
As a guy off the bench, I don't think he'd be bad.
Right. I mean, if he's willing to take another bench role again, like
I think at this point he knows that's his thing.
Yeah, but does he though? Because he still compared himself to Kevin Durant and LeBron as a top 3 forward.
He still knows how talented he is. This is the same guy that averaged almost 30 points a game as a freshman in college. I mean,
that dude fell off fast, man.
Yeah, but he's shown some life. But I don't know. Yeah, I would say go after him for sure.
I mean, definitely with your mid-level exception, if that's enough, I would. Yeah,
I don't know how necessarily would work out, but I think it's something you kind of just go for and
see what
bite
happens.
The bullet if it doesn't work.
Yeah. Another player, Marcus Smart, thinks he's worth $12 to $14 million a year, and it's said that the Celtics want him back. Question number 1: is he worth $14 million a season?
With the way that money is flowing these days, I think yes.
But last year we kind of saw a halt in the money spending.
Teams were a little bit
hesitant, and the cap is going down just a slight amount. Do you, for $14 million for a guy that's going to be a bench player? He's not a starter.
Right.
Do you spend $14 million on Marcus Smart, Joe?
No,
you're a front office.
I wouldn't. No.
Malik, would you spend $14 million on Marcus Smart?
I think I would have said no, but what you said, the money that's flowing now, Terry Rozier is going to be over $100 million man.
Yeah, he will be. He'll be close to it. He'll be close to it.
I think Marcus Smart getting like 3 years, $39 million. I don't think that's bad for a Marcus Smart type of player.
See, that's high for me, but I
can see him getting it somewhere.
I could see him getting it. And
he changes games with his effort.
He's kind of an X factor type player, a guy that you want on your side in a close game.
You don't see players like that as much anymore.
Yeah.
A guy that's willing literally to do anything.
He's kind of a wild card, a free agency wild card.
If I were the Celtics, though, I wouldn't spend that money on him.
That brings me to my next question.
Danny
Ainge
probably won't because he's smarter than all of us.
If the Celtics are said to be interested in bringing back Marcus Smart, they can't bring back Terry Rozier.
I don't think they plan to.
Terry's gone.
I don't think there's a way that they can keep him.
Because he's a restricted free agent, I believe.
I think he's going to want too much money, and he's going to be deserving of too much money, but I don't think the Celtics are going to be able to retain him.
Since the playoffs started, I knew Terry was gone.
Yeah, I think that's what they're already planning, is that there's just no way that it's going to work out to be able to keep him the way that he played this season.
If I'm Boston, I try to work out a sign and trade or something, get some value for him. You built this guy up from nothing. Try to get some value to it.
Maybe a draft trade?
Possible. I mean, the Pistons, I would love to see Terry as a Piston, but they can't trade their first-round pick until July 1st, so they'd have to wait until free agency. Coach rumbles. Coming back to East Lansing here, the Orlando Magic have inquired for the services of Tom Izzo, Joe.
When are people going to stop chasing Tom Izzo for an NBA?
I don't know, man.
Why do people keep chasing Tom Izzo for an NBA job?
The Izzo camp came out right away and said, Tom's not leaving East Lansing.
Tom Izzo needs to retire in East Lansing in about 5 or 6 years. And just live out the rest of his life in East Lansing and just be a king like he's going to be.
But I bring up this question because are we ever going to see – he keeps getting these inquiries for him to come to the next level. Is there ever going to be a time where Tom's like, you know what? I've coached so long as a college coach. I'd like to see what it's like to coach in the pros. Do you think that's ever going to happen?
No.
You think it's set in stone?
The money's too good in college. Like, you see these college coaches are getting paid a bunch of money.
It's true.
Why do they need to go to the NBA?
The only way I'd see it happening, this is on a completely different thing, but if more controversial stuff happened at Michigan State, I could see Izzo. I could see Izzo leaving before stuff really blows up. Or you remember when there was the rumor that D'Antoni and Izzo were going to step down,
right?
But then they came out and said there weren't. I think if more stuff slowly started coming out and they were involved, Izzo was going to the NBA.
Or if there's like a point where Michigan State somehow won like a few national championships in a row, and Izzo's like, okay, I've done everything I can here. Like I've been winning. I'm looking for better competition or something.
I'd understand.
Maybe, but Michigan State keeps failing every year, and I don't think I think he wants to do right for that team. And I would assume that he wants to stay where he is. I don't see him coming to the NBA. I don't know if there's a good reason for him to, unless maybe, like Malik said, if Michigan State gets into more trouble or something, he'd just want to step away. But I don't see a reason for it.
All right. So we got like 2 minutes left here on the show. I'm going to give 3 draft rumors. Just tell me if you're interested or you're not. It's just smoke. Nick's very interested in Villanova's Mikal Bridges. LiAngelo Ball has worked out for the Los Angeles Lakers and has a workout set with the Golden State Warriors. And then Lakers are said to be high on Luka Doncic. Do you think they make a move on draft night?
No.
Nothing of interest there?
I'm extremely high on the Knicks getting Mikal Bridges. I have a friend that's a Knicks fan. He wants either Mikal or Miles Bridges.
Yeah.
I say Mikal. Mikal is ready right now to play defense and be a really good 3-and-D guy.
There's
and
a
he
lot
can
of
take
smoke.
it to the basket.
I think Miles Bridges would be better for the Knicks.
I'm not sure
I don't
about
think Miles
that.
is
I
going
don't
to be
agree
that
with
good
that.
of a pro.
I think
so-
Miles would fit better in a functional system.
Yeah, I think
You don't think-
Miles has to be in
I
the
think-
system.
I think
He
the
has
Knicks
to.
are pretty close. Now that they have David
Not yet.
Fizdale and they have Porzingis,
Give it a year. I'd give it a year before I'd consider it. a
LiAngelo to
functional
Golden
system.
State. One more shooter.
Dude, put LiAngelo. I think the Lakers are going to draft him just because of that ball connection.
they liked Grayson Allen's workout, though.
Grayson Allen, Devontae Graham.
They worked out, I think, Kevin Huerter from Maryland, too.
Yeah, there's a lot of kind of that second tier players that this draft is very deep for second round prospects. So I mean that's good for the Pistons. But yeah, that'll do it for the show today, guys. Good work. You know, we broke down some finals matchups, talked some Piston moves for once. Anything left to say? We got anything on your chest you need to get off?
Part 4.
Part 4.
Here we go.
I'll be watching the highlights after the game.
Malik will be our highlight master.
Can we just get on to next season, please?
Let's get to
Summer
the
League.
draft. Let's get to the draft. All right, well, we'll see you guys same time, same place next week. See ya.
Bye.
Jason Tatum is coming.